Real leaders put their people first. They care more about the future of their country than the size of their paycheck. And right now, something wild is unfolding in West Africa, something the world didn't see coming. Burkina Faso has just welcomed 700 North Korean commandos onto its soil. And no, they're not here for diplomacy, peacekeeping, or aid. They're here for one man, President Ibrahim Traoré. Now, here's the big question. Why would one of the most secretive, isolated regimes on the planet risk global backlash just to protect a young African leader? Why now? What's really going on? Let's rewind and unpack it. In Africa, when foreign troops show up, they usually come with a NATO patch or a French flag on their sleeve. That's the norm. But this, North Korean boots on African ground, that's something else entirely. It's not fiction, it's real, and it's official. The government of Burkina Faso has confirmed the arrival of 700 elite North Korean soldiers, fully armed, battle-ready, and not hiding in the shadows. They're not advisors, they're not medics. They're active combat troops, integrated into a high-stakes security mission to protect Traoré, secure the regime, and prevent yet another coup or assassination attempt. Sure, we've seen Russia's fingerprints all over Africa lately, especially with Wagner mercenaries moving in where French forces pulled out, like in Mali and the Central African Republic. But North Korea, that's a curveball. That's unprecedented. That changes the game. And here's the kicker. This wasn't leaked. This wasn't denied. Both Burkina Faso's government and North Korea's state-run media confirmed the move, loud and clear. So, what's the real motive behind this unlikely alliance? And what does it mean for the balance of power on the continent? Stay with us, because what's happening in Burkina Faso might just be the start of a new global power shift. According to insiders, this mission isn't just about protection, it's a full-blown strategy. It breaks down into three major goals. First, shield President Ibrahim Traoré and top members of the transitional government from threats, both internal traitors and outside enemies. Second, lock down the country's most vital assets, military bases, airports, government buildings, gold refineries, and key communication hubs. Third, train Burkina Faso's forces in the kind of hardcore tactics North Korea has perfected over decades: guerrilla warfare, close protection, infiltration defense, surveillance, and most importantly, how to stop a coup before it starts. This wasn't some last-minute scramble. The North Koreans didn't just show up, they were expected. Weeks of back-channel diplomacy and joint planning went into this. Sources say simulations had already been run, infrastructure was ready, and top Burkina Faso officials were quietly in the loop long before the public got wind of it. This wasn't a reaction. It was a move right out of a playbook. The only question is, what forced them to open that playbook? Behind the scenes in Ouagadougou, military sources say it came down to one thing. The threat level around Traoré was spiking, and fast. In just the last 6 months, the country's intelligence services, working with Russian support, shut down 2 serious coup plots. They intercepted encrypted messages between foreign operatives and rogue soldiers. They even stopped an armed group from taking over a regional command post. Each failed attempt only raised the stakes. Whoever was behind this didn't want Traoré weakened. They wanted him gone. So, after the latest plot collapsed, Burkina Faso made a quiet but deliberate move. Russia was already on the ground, but it wasn't enough. They needed another layer, one that didn't play by Western rules. A force that could train elite guards, operate in the shadows, and handle threats where diplomacy couldn't reach. That's when North Korea got the call. And now they're here. What does it mean for Burkina Faso and for global power politics in Africa? Stick with us. This story is just getting started. And hey, if you're finding this breakdown eye-opening, don't forget to like the video, share it, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Let's dive deeper into the unfolding situation. Pyongyang has reportedly gone beyond just offering troops. They've provided an entire security package. We're talking about encrypted communication systems, counter-surveillance tools, and battle-tested strategies, all aimed at protecting leaders under siege. While much of the world focuses on North Korea's missile tests and nuclear standoffs, they also run one of the toughest internal security systems on Earth. And now, pieces of this formidable apparatus are being deployed in Burkina Faso. The North Korean commandos are stationed in undisclosed areas, primarily near the capital and northern regions, both hotspots for insurgent activity and internal instability. They're not just sitting back either. These forces are working hand in hand with Burkina Faso's Presidential Guard, blending their own methods with local expertise. They're training high-trust units that can handle rapid response, loyalty checks, and locking down crucial facilities when needed. The implications of this are huge. This marks the first known deployment of North Korean forces in Africa in a direct combat support role in decades. And it's happening at a time when traditional Western powers are pulling back. France has been shown the door, the US military presence is shrinking, and ECOWAS, the once strong guardian of West African stability, no longer commands the trust of its own members. Into that power vacuum step the Russians and now the North Koreans. Unlike Western nations, which come with loud speeches, flashy banners of democracy, and big promises, North Korea entered quietly, quickly, and without apology. And maybe that's why they were welcomed. There were no NGOs, no speeches, no plans for transition, just soldiers, loyalty, and the expertise to stop a bullet before it's even fired. This move goes far beyond raising eyebrows. It sparks much deeper questions. Why would North Korea, one of the most isolated regimes on the planet, take such a bold step and risk international backlash to support a transitional government in Africa? What could Pyongyang possibly hope to gain from this? And how does this all tie into the larger trend of Africa turning away from the West? When North Korean soldiers set foot in Burkina Faso, the question on everyone's mind was clear. Why? Why would a regime so secretive, so cut off from the world, send 700 of its elite commandos to protect a military leader in West Africa? This isn't about making headlines. North Korea doesn't care about Western media. It's not about peacekeeping, a feel-good mission, or offering charity. The truth is far more calculated and far more dangerous. This move is about seizing an opportunity, securing survival, and projecting power. Let's break it down. First, what does North Korea gain from this strategically? For years, Pyongyang has been cut off from real combat experience. Their military strategy has been built on theory, simulations, and national drills, not the chaos of actual international warfare. But Burkina Faso offers something unique, a live conflict zone far from Asia, where the battlefield is unpredictable. Insurgents are swift, coups are plotted quietly, and urban warfare blends into jungle terrain. It's a perfect testing ground. By embedding its elite forces in Burkina Faso, North Korea has a rare opportunity to test unconventional warfare tactics. It gains real-time data on how its surveillance systems and special operations protocols hold up under pressure. It becomes a field lab for asymmetric combat, especially when it comes to defending high-ranking leaders under siege. But the significance of this deployment goes beyond just technical training. It's about ideology. Pyongyang sees in Burkina Faso's leader, Traoré, a mirror of the very principles they hold dear: anti-imperialism, military self-reliance, and a fierce resistance to foreign influence. Traoré isn't asking the IMF for handouts. Instead, he's taking matters into his own hands, exactly the kind of figure that resonates with North Korea's vision. He's not attending democracy summits in Brussels. He's not handing over his country's secrets to Washington or Paris. Instead, he's kicking foreign troops out, challenging ECOWAS, and refusing to be anyone's puppet. Leaders like him are a rare breed in today's global south, which is exactly why North Korea has its eyes on him. For Kim Jong-un's regime, supporting Traoré is more than just political. It's about making a bold statement. We stand with those who stand alone. It's not just about ideology, it's also about strategy. As the West continues to lose its grip on Africa, Pyongyang sees a golden opportunity to plant roots in a region it's been largely shut out of. And influence means leverage. That leverage translates into trade, access to Africa's treasure trove of resources like gold, uranium, rare earth minerals, and agricultural exports. behind closed doors, there are whispers of Burkina Faso and North Korea already talking about exchanging weapons and technology, bypassing the SWIFT system and international banking controls. What's happening here is the birth of a new trade pipeline, one that doesn't run through Washington, Brussels, or the World Bank. This plays right into North Korea's broader foreign policy strategy, which analysts are now calling its Southern Opening Doctrine. Simply put, Pyongyang has realized that trying to break through Western alliances in Asia is a lost cause. But Africa is where the old colonial order is crumbling in real time. And that makes it the perfect ground to plant a new global influence. Burkina Faso is just the beginning. There's a lot more to come. Let's break this down. In 2023, North Korea quietly reignited diplomatic ties with Guinea-Bissau and the Central African Republic. Its state media praised countries like Mali and Niger for rejecting foreign interference, while North Korean diplomats at the UN engaged with non-aligned African blocs, offering affordable security systems and frameworks for mutual defense. So, when 700 North Korean soldiers landed in Ouagadougou, it wasn't a coincidence. It was part of a larger, multi-phase strategy to embed North Korea into Africa's future by supporting the regimes that refuse to bend to Western power. And in return, Pyongyang is gaining something even more valuable than natural resources: legitimacy. Every time an African government salutes a North Korean soldier, it chips away at the narrative that North Korea is isolated on the world stage. When foreign generals thank North Korean trainers, it sends a message to other non-aligned nations: you don't need the West to survive or to win. This is soft power, delivered with hard boots. But perhaps North Korea's biggest win here is the creation of untouchable space. Burkina Faso, having cut ties with France and ECOWAS, has essentially become a free zone, a place where Pyongyang can deploy military units without worrying about foreign surveillance, US drones, or Western sanctions enforcement. In a world where American satellites track every move in North Korea, Burkina Faso provides shadows, areas where operations can run undisturbed, where information can flow freely, and where tactics can evolve without Washington's watchful eyes. And what does Burkina Faso get in return? Survival. Traoré now has a second layer of protection. If anyone wants to take him down, it's not just about facing a young military leader from Burkina Faso. They're up against an alliance, one that doesn't blink, doesn't apologize, and doesn't need a UN vote to act. So yes, North Korea sent its commandos into a continent it's barely touched for decades. But this wasn't a gamble. It was a calculated move into the one region where global power is still being contested and where the battle for control is just beginning. When North Korean troops touched down in Burkina Faso, it wasn't just to stand guard at the palace or patrol the walls. Their mission was far deeper: to help build a national defense system designed to resist infiltration, subversion, and betrayal. What many still fail to realize is that the presence of North Korean commandos isn't the endgame. It's just the beginning. A foreign alliance alone won't secure a leader like Traoré, who faces threats not only from enemies abroad, but from within his own ranks. Protection doesn't equal power, and survival means little if you're not also overhauling the very systems that once made you vulnerable. That's exactly what's unfolding in Burkina Faso right now. The arrival of North Korean forces has sparked a complete military and intelligence overhaul, unlike anything the country has ever seen. Traoré isn't just patching up holes in the system, he's rewriting the entire blueprint. He understands where things went wrong in the past: an army that was fragmented, divided loyalties, a chain of command dependent on foreign powers, and intelligence units that leaked more secrets than they gathered. With that knowledge, a new framework is emerging, one focused on internal loyalty, strategic independence, and an unyielding ability to resist. The change began quietly. First, key personnel in sensitive positions were rotated out, some retired, others reassigned. These weren't public firings, they were precise, surgical removals of weak links, often identified through North Korean-backed loyalty checks and counterintelligence operations. The goal? To ensure that no one near the president has ties to foreign interests. Next, the Presidential Guard underwent a full retraining, not just in close protection, but in emergency state lockdowns, encrypted field communications, and the identification of hidden dissidents. This training goes well beyond traditional military drills. It's about transforming the entire framework of security and loyalty within the state. It's all modeled after North Korea's elite leadership protection units, operating under layers of secrecy, deep ideological immersion, and unshakable discipline. But the shift in Burkina Faso didn't stop there. The internal intelligence system was next to be overhauled. Historically, intelligence in Burkina Faso was treated like an extension of foreign embassies. Information was filtered, censored, and often passed through third parties before it ever made it to the national leadership. But under Traoré, that's no longer the case. Now, a whole new domestic surveillance and alert system is being put in place, not to serve foreign diplomatic interests, but to protect the state from sabotage and internal coups. One senior official, speaking off the record, summed it up bluntly: "Before, we were trained to observe for others. Now, we observe for ourselves." The new doctrine focuses on deep loyalty checks, monitoring for local infiltrations, and nipping subversive plots in the bud before they can take root. Agents aren't just being trained to think like soldiers, they're learning to think like analysts and saboteurs, dismantling threats before they ever pull a trigger. The changes also stretch beyond the capital. In key provinces, particularly those most vulnerable to insurgent activity or paramilitary influence, parallel security chains are being set up, direct lines between the presidency and commanders in the field, bypassing the bureaucratic red tape that foreign actors once exploited to stall, confuse, or manipulate military responses. This dual system, one public, one tightly guarded, is inspired by the North Korean defense model, where official channels exist, but real power lies within loyalty networks and unbreakable internal cohesion. Traoré isn't copying Kim Jong-un. He's adopting what works, blending it with Africa's spirit of resistance, and applying it with precision to a nation that once relied on foreign security protocols. This isn't tyranny, it's defensive innovation, forged from years of betrayal. And it's working. Reports of military infiltration attempts have dropped. Several insider threats have been neutralized before they could act. The morale of the armed forces, once uncertain due to conflicting loyalties, is now consolidating around a clear command structure that answers to Burkina Faso, not to Brussels, Paris, or anyone else. This doctrine is quietly spreading. Inside the AES, Alliance of Sahel States, joint meetings have been taking place to share these restructuring tactics with countries like Mali and Niger, both facing their own internal challenges. The goal isn't to copy North Korea, it's to learn from its approach to self-reliance and state security, and then adapt those lessons to the unique situation in the Sahel. In the end, the aim isn't to become a mirror image of Pyongyang. It's to become what Africa was never allowed to be: sovereign, secure, and free from foreign puppet strings. Traoré knows the threats aren't gone. He understands that coups don't always wear uniforms, and sabotage doesn't always come with a gun. But now, he's building a system that doesn't just react to threats, it predicts them and crushes them before they take root. And that shift is game-changing. With North Korea and Russia now actively backing African leadership, a new power bloc is taking shape, one that could shift the global balance of power. When a country survives multiple assassination attempts, dismantles coup plots, ejects Western troops, and overhauls its intelligence system with the help of nations under sanctions, it's clear that something more than just internal reform is happening. Burkina Faso is no longer just defending itself. It's becoming the epicenter of a global power shift, and the shockwaves are already rattling the old order. Traoré's deep restructuring of the military and security systems, with support from North Korea, and protection from Russian special forces has done more than secure one leader. It's opened up a new model of foreign alliances in Africa, one that operates outside of Western control, rejects the old dependency structures, and offers a real alternative for other African nations tired of being lectured, looted, and left vulnerable. This is where the geopolitical consequences start to unfold, with North Korea and Russia both actively defending a government in the Sahel, not with diplomats, but with elite troops, encrypted tech, and military doctrine. A new axis is taking form, and it's not symbolic. It's strategic, expanding, and posing a direct threat to the post-colonial Western framework that has governed Africa for decades. This emerging axis isn't about ideology, it's about resistance and replacement. Countries like Burkina Faso are no longer just pushing back against Western interference. They're actively replacing Western systems, everything from intelligence and military command to diplomatic protocols and trade. This alliance is built on mutual benefit, not some sense of moral superiority. For Russia, it means gaining strategic access, diplomatic loyalty, and new trade deals backed by gold. North Korea gets a chance to test its systems in real-world conditions, global relevance, and a platform to extend its influence in the global south. And for nations like Burkina Faso, it's the kind of unwavering support they've never truly gotten from the West, backing without any strings attached. And this shift isn't stopping at Burkina Faso. Countries like Mali and Niger, both part of the AES alliance, are already adopting similar strategies. In Mali, security programs are being merged with Russian forces, while North Korean-style cyber monitoring techniques are taking root. In Nigeria, the government is exploring barter-based trade in military hardware and rare minerals, completely bypassing Western financial systems. These moves aren't just reactions, they're part of a coordinated effort. AES is no longer just a defensive bloc, it's laying the groundwork for a new geopolitical order, one that many African nations are watching closely. Guinea, Chad, Sudan, countries with uncertain transitions, are now asking themselves new questions. What if we don't need ECOWAS? What if we don't need the IMF? What if we can protect ourselves together? The West may be starting to panic, but not because it fears coups. It's afraid of becoming irrelevant. Because if the Burkina Faso model spreads, building internal stability with Eastern partners instead of relying on Western patrons, the whole foundation of Western foreign policy in Africa starts to crumble. No more proxy control, no more aid with strings attached, no more regime change diplomacy disguised as support for democracy. Instead, Africa, a continent historically divided by borders drawn in Europe, is beginning to unify under a new political identity, one grounded in autonomy, protection, and shared defiance. But this isn't just about Africa. This emerging axis is quietly connecting with broader movements in Asia and Latin America. Countries like Iran, Venezuela, and even parts of Southeast Asia are watching what's unfolding in Africa and seeing possibilities. Possibilities for a world that no longer operates on Washington's terms, one that isn't bound by European alliances or controlled by institutions that favor the few over the many. What Burkina Faso, with help from North Korea and Russia, is doing is creating a new language of power, a language that says we don't need Western approval to survive. We can make it without them, we can thrive without them, and if it comes down to it, we can outlast them. That message is now spreading across Africa, and the West has no clue how to respond. For the first time, it's not being invited to step in, to intervene, or to translate. It's being left behind. And that's why those 700 North Korean commandos matter, not because of their uniforms or their weapons, but because of what they symbolize: the end of the West's monopoly over African security and the birth of a new order, an order forged in the fire of resistance, tested in silence, and now rising with undeniable purpose. Burkina Faso is no longer a case study, it's the prototype. Do you think the West will strike back out of jealousy or fear? What's coming next? Share your thoughts in the comments. Will Traoré stand firm, or will the pressure force him to bend? Want to see more videos like this one? Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay tuned.